Draw a cube, two squares slanting to each other, join the edges. Now the topmost surface is called roof, can also be called as terrace. The first letter T, this thin plate of bone is called tegmen tympani, which separates the middle ear cavity from the middle cranial fossa. Lower surface is floor, also be remembered as inferior surface. So the first letter I stands for internal jugular vein. N stands for a nerve, that is tympanic branch of ninth cranial nerve, which is glossopharyngeal nerve. So these two structures mainly forms the floor of middle ear cavity. You can see thin plate of bone separates the superior bulb of internal jugular vein, and here is your glossopharyngeal nerve between the carotid artery and jugular vein. This glossopharyngeal nerve gives a branch called tympanic branch, which ramifies over promontory to form tympanic plexus. So these are the two main structures present in the floor of middle ear cavity. Coming to the anterior wall, consider first four letters in anterior, A-N-T-E. A stands for artery, internal carotid artery. N stands for nerve, caroticotympanic nerve. T stands for tensor tympani. This is a muscle. And E stands for eustachian tube. The last two structures, it passes through a canal. Canal for tensor tympani, canal for eustachian tube. So how these four structures present in the anterior wall. These are the two tubes, one for tensor tympani and eustachian tube. Beneath that, anterior wall is related to internal carotid artery, and you have caroticotympanic nerve supplies the middle ear cavity. Now moving on to the posterior wall. Likewise, consider the letters in the posterior. P stands for pyramid. O, here it is the second letter of fossa incudis. Posterior, third letter S stands for Stapedius muscle. T stands for tympanic canaliculus. As this is present in the posterior wall, it is called posterior tympanic canaliculus. And E stands for epitympanic races to mastoid antrum. So that communication is called additus to mastoid antrum. Additus to mastoid antrum. How to draw these structures in the posterior wall? First structure is pyramid. So there is a projection from the posterior wall into the middle ear cavity. Above that, there is a small depression which lodges the body of incus called fossa incudis. Third letter S stands for Stapedius, which is a muscle which gets attached to the pyramid, and inserts in the neck of these stapes. Where is stapes? The foot plate of the stapes closes your oval window present in the medial wall. Next is tympanic canaliculus. Posterior tympanic canaliculus is present in the lower part of the posterior wall near the tympanic membrane, and the nerve is cauda tympani, which passes through it. Then we have adductomastoid antrum above, which communicates to the mastoid air cells. So these are the main structures in the posterior wall of medullary cavity. Now medial wall. Medial wall presents so many important structures. How to remember all those structures? So this wall has so many important features. It's complicated to understand. So it has both pros and cons. Now the structures are: P stands for promontory. So what is promontory? It is a bulge produced by basal turn of cochlea into the medullary cavity. R stands for round window. Inferiorly there is a round window, otherwise called fenestra cochleae. O stands for oval window. Superiorly we have fenestra vestibuli. S stands for sinus tympani. Sinus tympani is present just opposite to the ampulla of posterior semicircular canal. This structure is present just behind the promontory. Next, C. Consider both C and O, and this is cochleariformis. So this is a bony extension between the two canals present in the anterior wall towards the medullary cavity. It forms a pulley called processus cochleariformis. Next, letter N stands for nerve. So the nerve related to the medial wall is facial nerve. Next, letter S. Here it's not seen. S stands for lateral semicircular canal. This is the impression for lateral semicircular canal, and the facial canal passes between the oval window and the impression for lateral semicircular canal. Laterally tympanic membrane.